click on something maybe. I don't know. Like this. The laptop. Yeah. Yep. Wow, it worked. Magic.
Let's see if I can get present view. Give me just a second, guys. I'm sorry.
No worries, we got time. Yep.
Let's make sure. Second screen. Let's see. You know what? It's fine. Let's just go into regular present. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Kai Roberts. I am currently living in what is a city called Knoxville, Tennessee. It's Maryville. I am a senior at Troy University. I am studying anthropology. My main two subsects would be forensic and biological, but I have taken this lovely detour into language and how our society is kind of evolving into it. That kind of goes with the risks that we're taking as minorities and how we are transforming that in today's age. Along with AI, we also have a new way of alerting each other. We have podcasts, YouTubes, documentaries coming out at an alarming rate, and we cannot keep up with what is real, what is fake, what's deep fake, what's being presented to us in a red pill content or blue pill content or black pill if you're in the high school society like I am. And so I kind of get bombarded by this daily because I'm also an environmental science high school teacher during the day. So I get to hear what all of our upcoming soon-to-be seniors are talking about. And a lot of it is how they feel unsafe in today's world. I put my abstract up there. I'm not going to read all of it. If you guys want to, it's available. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, guys.
I like that image, but
Thanks. My 11-year-old helped me with that. Let's get back to where it's supposed to be.
I wonder if when you did the extend thing, it may have messed with something. I'm not.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
It should be. There it goes. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I was going to have my abstract up while I was saying that. I am not going to read all of it out loud. The paper should hopefully be available soon. But it is talking about how we are shaping the new theories that are coming out. And I will briefly go over the insider-outsider dynamics of the world we're about to dive into, which is what I call the true crime craze. I honestly mimic it with the satanic panic of the 80s, if you think about the models that come out. And it's extremely fascinating, the groups that, have come out to this. But the questions that I am asking in this is true crime sensational or is it safety? Can we build community digitally by doing these? Can we use entertainment as mass alarm systems? And I don't mean mass alarm systems like our tornado systems. I mean our biological route of passing down what is safe and what is not. Because we don't do that anymore. We don't sit around a fire and pass down those traditions as often as we used to, especially in modern technology society. Okay, so true crime as a contemporary storytelling. Modern versions of older communal spaces and women-led podcasts are particularly influential. So let's get into why modern versions of older communal spaces are switching into that. As women and minorities, we were the ones who brought in and passed down a lot of information, be it medicine, be it what's safe to eat, what's not safe to eat, where can we hunt. We would be the ones that the men came back to and they would talk to us at the end of the night. How did this hunt go? How did this happen? And that's kind of transpired throughout women's history, right? They would come back from war and talk to us. They'd come back from work and talk to us about things. And then we would pass that down to the children. Oh, you can't do that, especially as our boys and women came into teenagehood. And that has kind of transpired. It's a little bit different, right? From the 1950s, early 2000s even to what we see now. we used to have a lot more teens going out, kind of doing, inconspicuous things and not telling parents, but a lot of times they would tell their moms before they would tell their dads about what was happening. Today we see that they don't really leave the house as often as we used to. And this is interesting because it's actually a conversation I have a lot with my seniors. They would rather go home, put on their pajamas, go get tea with mom, and sit down and watch a true crime documentary. Or, sit with dad and play video games. We're no longer going out and taking the risks that we were even 20 years ago. And so this is kind of transpiring what we're watching. We're watching documentary after documentary, and that becomes our new communal practice of pass down. It's no longer just mom talking about it or the small women's groups. We are mass media in that. So why are women-led podcasts especially influential in this society? Well, as you've known, especially in true crime or any kind of crime, it used to be a very male-dominated, job. That is changing. But even in journalism of what was happening in our crime, it was male-dominated and tended to have a very aggressive approach in talking about what was happening in our crime systems. As women taking over it, and minorities, I want to include that because we get into it just a little bit, we tend to have a softer approach and are able to reach each other a little differently. We are giving back a narrative that was, taken for a lot of groups, not just women, but a lot of groups and minorities. So my research in this was mainly qualitative. Speaking of Facebook research, I went into Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, podcasts, YouTube debates, you name it, I did it probably about for 2 years, looking at what was the reoccurring themes, which serial killer were they doing, what was the engagement rates on these, who was commenting, who was not commenting, who was saying it was gross and morbid, and what groups did not like this. And what I seen was that our traditional boomer group seen this as a very gross and exploitive practice. As we get into what is our older millennials, you see that change in comments and the way that they react. They'll react back with videos, not just comments. They switch their stuff. Oh, I know this research. They will, tag or the way you do a video when you tag back. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, they would video back and reply to what that was instead of just a comment like the older generation does. And themes getting into and sharing research in together. Now, it wasn't all very, great research. It's just things that they had shared with each other, but it was still important into how they were sharing it and continuing that alert system and pushing it forward. We had a lot of reoccurring themes and different stuff. So in subgroups, we had serial killers, which we have a lot of crime consumption on. There's a huge, I want to call almost cult following into that. And you see that as, we have our retakes of older documentaries with our newer ones with Dahmer and all of that coming out. Then you have our little groups that are like, okay, we're going to do this specific subset, like park predators. It's a podcast that is just for national park crimes. But it's also the female that is leading it, warning systems about what happens that's not led. You don't hear about all the national park murders that are happening or the stalking cases on our big media. Matter of fact, most of us don't watch big media anymore anyway. So it's kind of a system. I also watched the narrative patterns, which was what I was talking about, how they subsected into it. And it was interesting in how they picked and who was engaging. And it is starting to pull in our LGBTQI, our African Americans, everybody that feels like they have been in and wronged by the justice system have been pulled into this. So is it resisting sensationalism? Listeners are not just consumers, and groups are reclaiming narrative, as I was starting to say. When I was listening to these, and as I'm watching the engagement, instead of it being sensationalized, which is what our older group tends to think is happening, you see a reverse of that. It's not sensationalized. They are not doing it just to consume it. You hear about, well, they should have done this. They should have done that. What if we had done this? They are actively trying to solve something that they seen was solved wrong. And they are giving very good, especially for people who've just come into it, very good reasonings into what happened without having the proper terminology or even the proper education to get there. In this, a lot of times we feel like our listeners or our videographer, like the way we consume, are just consuming. and I know a lot of us get this in our social media classes right now, is that we're just scrolling. And we get into that dead scroll and we just consume. In this specific topic, they're not just consuming, they are stopping, they are watching the content, they are absorbing it and then regurgitating it and sending it out. It's not just like it's being consumed and passing on for 3 seconds. They are allowed and are reclaiming this narrative. They feel, this group and these people feel like they are reclaiming their narrative and are able to help get to where they're gonna be and where it will actually help in the end. It's not like it's just, again, consuming, they actually have a purpose in this consumption. We're not just scrolling for our, excuse my language, our jackass style topics that are going through it. Okay, so how is this ritual, gender, and eventually trust? I talked about our true crime craze and how it almost mimics what I would say the satanic panic, and in numbers and how they are coming back through and how sensationalized, and I know I said it wasn't, but the way it is consumed is sensationalized, not the content within itself. It is representing large spaces of empowerment. We have conferences, we have digital meet groups, we have games that are based off of this, of real cases that they were seeing and consuming and meeting with each other. We have all kinds of cool little groups that are going out and they're helping. And they are actually helping some of our cold cases and stuff like that. I'm a part of Cold Case Coalition, where I help identify some of the pictures and the bodies that come through, and it's a really cool thing to see all life come through in different generations. Symbolically, this is reversing the roles. We are no longer in a male-led journalism. We are switching into our minority, taking back these. We are speaking about it. And it's not just us. We have our LGBTQI groups that are in this, and I go into that in the next couple of slides. But it helps because we've had especially right now, a declining trust in all of our institutions. This is giving us back just a little bit of the trust in each other as a population, because we are reclaiming that narrative of giving trust. So, and that goes back into the collective investigation. We are doing that together, and it gives us a sense of community that we have lost, and a lot of us are trying to regain. And that is why most of us go back to religion after we've come back, since we're looking for community. This itself is actually replacing that, even in the brain section. So just like we're talking about with women, there is a large LGBTQI presence within the true crime section. They are able to help, a lot of them bring a humor narrative to this, which softens some of it, but it has allowed this to actually be present in how everything is working. It's softer and able to be like, hey. So if I want to talk about our 80s true crime stuff and the satanic panic, at that same time we were having an AIDS epidemic, right? And we had a lot of prostitution happening within it, and the way they were helping that was with houses, and they would call them mother houses, unfortunately, but they were taking in people that had been cast out, that were identifying, and they would spread the information of who not to go to, who don't get into the car with, and what we do not do. We don't have that. That's not how our society works. They're able to do that, even though morally it may not be on our things. They can do it this way. This is what you need to be doing. This is what you don't need to be doing. Please watch out, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go into our insiders, outsiders, and digital communities for just a second. If you have played D&D, or if you play video games, or if you are part of any kind of nerd subsection group, you know how it feels to be insider and outsider. This is the same way. They consider insiders as a way to, the ones that are engaging, they're coming back, they're going to the group meets. Outsiders are the ones that feel like it is grossly, sensationalized that we're watching this, that we're consuming this kind of content. But it's a sense of personal investment for the insiders. I've noticed that they are not taking the negative talk like a lot of us would and we put something down. Instead, they push harder. So the negative impacts on this. Of course, I've talked about a lot of positives, right? But there are large negative impacts. The more they consume, the more they feel like they are actual forensic technicians. And they are getting into terms that they don't know what they're doing. They're trying to help, and instead they end up ruining people's lives a lot of time. They mass mobilize quickly online, and instead of having all access to all the content in these cases, They tend to villainize people that were just being looked at, that had just small groups of why we needed to cross them off our lists, and that ruins people's lives. They have a cultural overconfidence right now. If you have been in any of the teenage self, it's not just in true crime, it is all over the spectrum. They feel like they know it all already, and it's more than what it is now, or used to be. It's extreme cultural overconfidence. And that's happening in this crowdsourced justice of this stuff. So the next time you guys are listening to your true crime, or you're sitting down with your coffee and you are joining any kind of what you think is a cult or a comfort fiction, think about what you could be altering inside and how you could be alerting each other.
Thank you, everyone. So we can now shift to questions for any of the papers.